This evening's forum is being presented by the Tri-City Coalition, consisting of Charter Communications, Pasco Chamber of Commerce, Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce, West Richland Chamber of Commerce, City of Pasco TV, City of Richland TV, the Associated Students of Columbia Basin College, the Tri-City Herald, and the League of Women Voters. My name is Judy Goldberg, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Benton and Franklin counties. This evening, we will be hearing from candidates running for the following positions: Benton PUD Commissioner, State Legislative 8th Representative Position 2, State Legislative 16 District Representative Position 1, Benton County Commissioner Position 1, and Benton County Commissioner Position 3. Candidates will address the audience and present a 2-minute opening statement. They will have 2 to 3 questions with 2 minutes to respond, and candidates will then be given 1.5 minutes for closing statements. The first candidate tonight we will be hearing from is the PUD Commissioner. His opponent had a last-minute emergency and is unable to be here, so our candidate will have a 6-minute statement, but will not be taking questions tonight. As the evening goes on, if you have questions, there are 3x5 cards that will be available for you to write your questions, and members of the coalition will be collecting them. Candidates will have an opportunity to answer the same questions, so the question will not be directed to one candidate only. A member of the League will serve as a timer. If you'll hold up the paddles, thank you. A 1-minute paddle will be shown first, then a 15-second, and then stop. For the speakers, when the timer indicates there is 15 seconds left, there is no need to stop talking mid-sentence, but please wrap up what you're saying at that time. Charter Communications is filming today's forum, and segments will be shown on the local cable network at various times until the general election. To begin, we will start with Benton PUD Commissioner. And we will start with Mr. Bertsch, and it's Bob Bertsch.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Bertsch.
Thank you very much, Judy. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up this evening. It's always kind of interesting to see the participation in an event like this. I will tell you about myself briefly. Probably almost 61-year native of the Tri-City area. I've lived here since 1951. Graduated from Kennewick High School. Raised our family here. My wife and I, who's joined me this evening, raised our family here. Have been very engaged in the community. Went to school here, obviously, as did my daughter, who's joining us too. Graduated from Southridge right here a few years ago, 2000, I believe it was. What can I say? Very engaged in Benton and Franklin County Workforce Development Council. Been on their board for about 16 years. Chaired the youth board for about 9 years. Tri-City Chaplaincy Hospice, about 14 years on that board. Grace Clinic, 3 years. Past president or chair of the board. Founding director of Community First Bank, together with 9 other people here in the community. Recent appointment by the Supreme Court Justice of Washington State to the Ethics Board, Character and Ethics Board. So why do I tell you that? Just to tell you that this is my home. This is where I live. This is where I raised my family. Our grandchildren are here. I am a part of this community. I am a part of the fabric of this community. I've been in the general construction business 26 years, most of which all that work has been relationship-based work. And I'm very proud of that. That means a lot to me to know that my work is all based on relationships. So enough, just at least you got an idea of who I am. In '05, I was appointed as a PUD commissioner to fill the vacancy of a gentleman who was retired and then subsequently passed away. I filled the balance of that term, and then I had to run unopposed, so I served my first 6-year term, which I'm now finishing. So when I was appointed, I thought I was just, quite honestly, very honestly, just serving in a volunteer capacity for the community. And I'm serious when I tell you that. I thought I was just volunteering on a board. But there's a lot more to it than that, I can assure you. So in the 6 years, the past 6 years, what I'm going to try to do is share with you just globally what I've accomplished in that period of time. In '05, when I was appointed, the median and average retail rate for residential households, our rate was, Benton, when I say our, was above the median and the average. The year I was appointed and every subsequent year, our residential rates are now below the median and the average in our region. And we measure this throughout the region. So all of what I'm going to tell you tonight, you can get this information off the website, or you can contact anybody at the PUD to get this. Also, one of the things that I but I was told during the interview, I was asked about, why I want to serve, what I want to do. Well, my nature and my character have always been one of stewardship. Anybody that knows me, you'll know that I use that word. And it's very important, especially in this capacity, because the human resources, capital resources, material resources are not mine. They belong to the ratepayers. And so I've run my business the very same way, is that I am conservative by nature when it comes to dealing with other people's money. And so that's the approach that I took when I was appointed, and have ever since then. I'm very fortunate that both of my fellow commissioners embrace the same principles that I do. It's truly a blessing. So one of the things that really can help utilities or any public agencies, cities, counties, schools, whatever, is bond ratings. That was a big issue for me, and that is to say that when we meet with Moody's, S&P, and Fitch, which we do every single year, that's a high priority to me, because if you're in the public business of any of these natures and we need capital, we go to the market to get the bonds. And I can tell you that in that period of time, the bond rating at Benton PUD is the highest it's ever been in its history. And so I'm getting the signal, so I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. In that same time that I've been here, 5 rate reductions have been passed on to the ratepayers here in Benton County's service territory. The last 3 years we've had increases. That's the result of the additional costs and increases from Bonneville Power, and we're going to get one again this year. However, the anticipated rate increase for 2013 will be 2%. In '05, the rate reduction was 3%, followed by 4%, followed by 6%, followed by 9.6%, and 3.8%. So I let these facts speak for themselves. The Commission is going to go over the 2013 budget on Monday, the 8th of October at the PUD Auditorium. They'll have all that detail. I'm very, very proud of the stewardship responsibilities that I've provided for you. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry I can't take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bertsch. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will now be hearing from the 8th and 16th Legislative District, Position 2 for the 8th District, Larry Haler, and Richard Ruther. And for the 16th District, Position 1, Mary Ruth Edwards and Maureen Walsh. Thank you. As in the past, we have 2-minute opening statements. We will be asking questions, the same question of both candidates. We'll do 2 to 3 questions, and then they will be given a minute and a half for closing statements. Each question will have 2 minutes to answer. We will begin with Larry Haler. We're doing this alphabetical, as I said. Mr. Haler.
Well, thank you very much. And I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and all the chambers. If I was to spell out all the chambers, I would take up all my time here, but I would like to thank all the chambers for their sponsoring this and thank everybody for being here this evening. I'm Larry Haler, State Representative. I have been in office for 8 years in this particular position. And I really believe that this is going to be one of our more momentous elections in our history of our country. I take a look at the elections that occurred in 1964 and the elections that occurred in 1980 and again the elections that occurred in 2000. If we really take a close look at this, we're trying to make a decision in this country whether we're going to accept capitalism as our form of making money in this country, or are we going to accept government care for all levels of society. True leaders, though, seek to follow our Constitution. I really believe that in our Constitution we have set forth that we are not only a community but a nation of free people. And to do any other than what our Constitution calls for leads us definitely in the wrong direction. Now, Goethe once said, the greatest thing in the world is not so much where we stand as in what direction we are moving. The direction we are moving right now, and what this particular race that I'm involved in, deals with leadership and vision. I believe that I have established myself as a leader and in leadership areas, and I've also established myself as somewhat of a visionary. I have helped with development of economic development in the Tri-Cities as well as in Richland through helping with the Port of Benton, working with the Wine Science Center, getting the $5 million this year for the Wine Science Center at Tri-Cities University. I was part of the team that got WSU Tri-Cities here. And when I was mayor, I also helped establish what is now Columbia Point, as well as the major shopping centers throughout the Tri-Cities and I should say Richland. So I've established myself as a visionary as well as a leader in those areas, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ruther.
My name is Richard Ruther. I'm a 5th-generation Washingtonian. My great-great-grandmother came across on the Oregon Trail, and our family was the 2nd European family to settle on Willapa Bay. I have an investment in the state of Washington that's long and deep. I'm also in the minority. I put a D behind my name, but that doesn't really mean much because what I stand for are the things that I have stood up for all my life. I'm the guy who stood up in class and asked the stupid questions when the kid next to me didn't understand what the teacher was talking about. I knew what the teacher was talking about, but because the kid next to me didn't, I was the one who asked the questions. I was the one who, when I was a juror many years ago, stood up 1 against 11, who wanted to set a rapist go. I'm the one who kept him inside the judicial system. I'm the one who stood up when our principal was abusing his staff, when he was bullying his staff. I am the person who stood up and stopped it. That's the kind of person I am, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. We will reverse the questions for Mr. Ruther first, and then Mr. Haler. The first question is, with the success of STEM schools such as the Delta School in the Tri-Cities, why would you support or oppose public charter schools versus allowing Washington's public school districts to try new and innovative programs?
I'm a former teacher. My wife is also a former teacher. In fact, in 2 days, I get my first retirement check. I'm so excited. My wife and I also volunteer at Delta High School. We volunteer our time for the National History Day program that several of the teachers are running there. I believe that there is nothing that a public school does that a charter school does that a public school can't do, given the appropriate facilities and the appropriate permission to do so. I don't think charter schools are the answer to the perceived failure of schools. I believe that the failure of schools is something that was created by the No Child Left Behind Act. We had a 35 or 36 square grid, and if you failed in any one of those boxes, you were called a failing school. So I do not support charter schools. I think that our public schools can do a better job if given the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Haler?
I believe that the Delta High School is a vision that has come true. The Richland School District, as well as the other school districts in this region, set out to establish a science, technology, and engineering and math school for our high school students, so that we can start competing, at least in this region, on a national, international level. And I believe that by having a STEM school here, which has become the envy of the many school districts in this state, as well as a national leader in STEM school education, that the vision and the leadership that was exhibited there by the school districts, as well as by the legislators and the local elected officials in trying to get that school established and eventually getting it established, is where we need to go. However, I do support charter schools to a certain extent. They're not a silver bullet. And the reason that I do is that Eric Pettigrew, who is a state representative in the Seattle district, tried to get a STEM school established similar to Delta in his district, because the students do not reach graduation rates by about 60% in his district. And the Seattle School District, the City of Seattle School Districts, shut it down, shut his proposal down, fought him every step of the way. And so consequently, if we're going to reform some of our schools and get some more STEM schools in this state, especially in those areas that need them, I would say that we need to move forward with looking at what charter schools can do, providing we can narrow the scope down to STEM.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Mr. Haler. Currently, it takes a 2/3 majority to raise taxes in the legislature. This means that 1/3 of the members can overrule the rest. Do you think this is an unfair balance of power? Why or why not?
Okay. I have been working for the last 4 years to get a constitutional balanced budget amendment passed in our State House, in the House as well as in the Senate. The reason that I do that is that we need to have that 2/3 vote in there, which I do have in my constitutional amendment, to make sure that taxes are the last resort that we have to go to. That has to be the hardest thing that we do. Currently, if you take a look at the majority party and our governor, they instantly go to, let's raise taxes. They don't go to look for efficiencies in government. By having that constitutional amendment requiring a balanced budget and having the 2/3 vote, forces us as a legislative body to look for efficiencies in government and try to cut down on the waste. We require throughout all the state entities and the governmental entities in this state, we require at the state level that they submit to us a balanced budget every year on December 20th. But we do not require a balanced budget on our own, and that is hypocritical. And so we need to stop the hypocrisy, and we need to have a constitutional amendment for a balanced budget with the 2/3 vote in it.
Okay, Mr. Ruther.
Perhaps I had my head in a bucket, but I don't recall the governor going first to raising taxes. I believe that the governor slashed and burned, as you have mentioned before, the budget. I don't remember any big hue and cry for raising taxes. Raising taxes, in fact, was how we got through recessions previously. In the 1970s and 80s, Governor Spellman, a Republican governor, proposed cuts and taxes, a blend of things to get us through the recession. This time, with the two-thirds majority, that option of taxes is taken off the table. So it makes it infinitely more difficult for the Republicans and the Democrats to come together on a budget. When all you can do is slash and burn, what's the point of complaining that you can't raise taxes? That two-thirds majority it ties your hands behind you. It ties your hands behind you. It doesn't allow you to function and get the state going the way it should.
Okay, thank you. Our third question, and we will begin with Mr. Ruther. This has to do with public health. At what point do you feel cuts to public health become counterproductive? How can we protect the health of our communities when public health issues arise, such as the whooping cough, while our public health departments are dealing with major cuts to their budget?
I think there's a saying that your health is everything, and that's true. If we don't look after our health, we will lose everything. We understand that communicable diseases are communicable, that we have to stop them, we have to prevent them. If we don't provide the resources to vaccinate people, if we don't provide our health services the resources to stop epidemics, then we're all going to suffer. It's extremely important that our public health units be allowed the funds, the flexibility, and the resources to deal with all kinds of public health issues. Sick children cannot learn when they go to school. Sick children stay home. If they're not at school, they're not learning anything. If we don't solve the sickness problem, we create a problem in the schools. Health is everything.
I believe absolutely in public health. I served on the Public Health Board of Benton Franklin County, representing the city of Richland for 12 years. During those 12 years, I was chairman for 2 years in a row. Let me tell you a little story. When I was growing up in the Seattle area, many, many years ago, maybe, when the earth was still cooling down, we weren't allowed to go out to public swimming holes because of diphtheria and meningitis in the pool, out in the water, and so public health has played a very important role in ridding us of those kind of dreaded diseases. And also polio was a major issue back then when I was growing up. And so with public health, we've eradicated the dread of the chances of people getting these dreaded diseases without vaccinations, and the public health districts being able to disperse those vaccinations to people who needed them and could not afford them at that time. Another thing a lot of people do, is confuse public health with Obamacare. It's a totally different issue. Public health is part of that three-legged stool that we require in our normal health system of today. And so I'm a very big supporter of public health, and I've tried to get funding for public health that have met resistance from both parties over the last 8 years.
Okay. We will now go to closing statements, and we will begin with Mr. Haler. No, that's not right, because you started.
I started, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Ruther. Sorry.
I'll go. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to go to the Regional Chamber of Commerce luncheon. They were talking about the future of the Tri-Cities. One thing that I noticed was that they kept using the population figure of 250,000 people. We have 250,000 people here. We have 250,000 people here. We have 250,000 people here. And at the end, they took questions from the audience, and I had the opportunity to raise my hand and be recognized, and I said, you know, we really shouldn't be thinking in terms of 250,000, because in the future, 15 to 20 years out, we're going to have 400,000 people living here. So as we plan for the future, we need to be thinking bigger. We need to not be solving our problems for our 250,000 population today. We need to be thinking about that 400,000 people who are going to be living here in the future. Where are we going to put them? What jobs are they going to have? How are we going to move them around? We need to think big. The future is in front of us. The future is not behind us. We can't look back. We can't look at the way we used to do things. We can't look back. We have to look forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to correct a misnomer from my friend here. The governor did propose, I said on Ways and Means, and I have for the last 8 years, but the governor did propose a $2.5 billion tax increase, as well as a majority party that she belongs to. But let's talk about the future of this community. The future lies in our past also. When we take a look at the Mid-Columbia Engineering Initiative being put together by several of our small businesses, as well as our ports and our PUDs, we are looking at building new energy resources and working with our national lab to make sure that we have adequate energy resources. And reaching back into the past, we're also looking at building small modular nuclear reactors here. And those will be demonstration reactors, which will bring jobs. We need to play off of what we've learned in the past. We need to work closely with our national lab, which I have. I got them $6 million so they could keep their radioactive laboratories here. They were going to ship them out if I had not gotten the money to build the infrastructure to have those facilities built. And I've also believed that I have been a major player and a very major part in WSU Tri-Cities, in their biosciences lab, as well as in the getting the money, working with Senator Delvin on getting the Wine Science Center here. I've also been a major player on the state level in making sure that we have a new aviation fuel called bioaviation fuel, which was developed at WSU, and that was passed this year. I was a co-sponsor of that bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we will continue with the candidates for the 16th Legislative District. And tonight we have with us Mary Ruth Edwards and Maureen Walsh. And we will begin with Mary Ruth. Thank you.
Alphabetical. Okay. All right. I'm Mary Ruth Edwards, and I'm a conservative Republican candidate for 16th District. I am from Prosser. We were redistricted at the beginning of the year into the 16th District. So it goes from Prosser all the way over to Dayton, picks up parts of Pasco and parts of Kennewick, and then goes all the way up Benton City to Prosser. So it's quite a big district that we're in now. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-traditional marriage. I believe in personal property rights. I have just a background for me. I have a business degree from Central Washington University. I have a master's in education from Whitworth University. Education is my second career, and I truly believe that in education, parents need a choice. Choice drives competition. Competition drives innovation. It drives improvement. So I believe that parents should have the choice of charter schools, public schools, home schools, online schools. Parents need to make that choice. Things that I would like to look at the state level would be things like revamping our B&O tax. In fact, getting rid of our business and occupation tax and just start over from scratch. Let's make something that's a flat rate, that isn't so convoluted, that can make it a lot easier for businesses, a lot more friendly business environment in this state. Sorry, it's those little signs, it's distracting. I'd like to just let you know that I've been endorsed by the Franklin County Republicans, Clint Didier, and the Human Life of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here tonight and thank our sponsors for the forum. It's always much appreciated to get out and be able to talk about differences between the candidates. And I'm not sure Mary Ruth and I differ too greatly. There are a few ideological issues that we do differ on, and she is a little more conservative than I. I would say I'm more of a moderate Republican. You know, I think one of my philosophies, I've been in the legislature now for 20 years. I want to get along. I want to build bridges. I don't want to burn them. And I want to be able to work with whatever party is in the majority to try to drive good, solid policy in this state that's going to have a good outcome for all of the people that live in this state. I have worked diligently on behalf of children and families in the legislature. And some people kind of wonder if that's an appropriate role for the legislature, and I would submit to you that I think it's probably the most important thing we can do in the legislature. We need our parents, our young parents, to be empowered. We need to get beyond the point where we are enabling individuals to not accept personal responsibility and support their own families. And that's a lot of the reason why I'm a Republican, because I believe in empowering instead of enabling. And I think that when we get to a point where we can empower young families, we're going to lessen the demand on our social service delivery system, we'll lessen demand in our juvenile justice courts, we'll lessen the demand in our institutions for incarceration, and hopefully a lot more kids are going to graduate. I'm a huge supporter of early learning. I believe that that's a great way to get kids on the right start, to appreciate and not take for granted the education that's given to them in this country. And I look forward to your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will start with you, Maureen.
All right.
Okay. What is your position on state purchases? Would you support transferring more land from private to state ownership? Or for what purposes? Or would you support divesting some state lands for the private sector?
Yes, I think that we have picked up a lot of land in this state, and one of the complaints that I get from constituents is that the land that the state picked up is not being maintained, and that tends to be a big problem. Maintenance is a cost, and it's a cost for labor, and it's a tremendous cost to the state. And yet we have to be the stewards. We have to set the example. If we're going to have lands owned in this state, we have to be the ones to maintain them. And I'm afraid that we've been a little bit remiss in doing that. So I would certainly not support more acquisition of land on the state level.
Thank you.
I would have to agree with that statement. When you're talking about the government acquiring private lands, that I don't believe that's the place of the government unless it is absolutely necessary for infrastructure, that type of thing. But you can see we have a lot of land that's just sitting around it's not being cared for, there's nothing being done with it. For whatever reason that might be, if we're not going to use it, then let's give it back to the private sector. Let's divest some of that, put some of that money back into our budget.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin the next question with Ms. Edwards. It's on higher education. What responsibility does the state government have to keep higher education affordable, or should increases be market-driven?
Well, higher education is an expensive proposition no matter how you look at it. I had to go back to school to get certified for my teaching certificate, and I, at the time, was not able to fund it out of my own personal funds, so I took out a student loan. In fact, I took out a couple of student loans for the 2 years that it took me to get my professional certification. That was quite an expensive undertaking. My daughter has completed 2 years of university, and she's already $20,000 in debt. And she still has another 5 years to go because she wants to be an optometrist. So when you talk about higher education, the cost of it, for me, that's a dilemma, because although I would like it to be easier for students to be able to get a college, make it more affordable, how do you do that? Do you do that by by the market-driven process, but is that really going to make it more affordable? Or, you know, I need to look at that a little bit more, because I don't think the government needs to be funding it. I don't think the government needs to be footing those loans to students. If my daughter keeps at the same rate, she's going to be, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt before she even graduates. And so I would like to see the cost come down, but I don't want to see the state footing the bill for that.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
You know, education's a great equalizer, but the disappointing statistic is how many of our young people are graduating with a higher education degree and not able to find employment. That's very disconcerting, and Mary Ruth is right, an extremely expensive proposition. I know a lot of people that are my age, and I'm hovering around 50, that are still paying off some of their school loans, and that's kind of frightening. I believe that we have industry in this state that has done a good job driving the STEM schools and the need for science and mathematics to be strengthened. I guess higher ed is what it is, but I guess my greater concern is what's going on with the demand for remedial education in our institutions of higher education. That to me is very telling and a strong indicator that we're not necessarily addressing those disciplines in our K-12 education system, and that has caused a huge expense just in trying to get folks caught up to the point where they actually can obtain a higher education degree. They have to take remedial education to get there. That's a huge concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What can be done to better prepare our growing elderly population or the state government when many of these citizens will require nursing home care and will end up on Medicaid?
How can we better prepare our elderly population? Okay. Well, I guess I have to admit, that's a confusing question for me.
Okay. Would you like to take a turn? Are you going to?
I guess, let me give it a try, but
Okay.
to me that's a little confusing. I know the other day we were at a candidate forum, and the Retired Teachers Association, or the Retired School Employees Association, and they were concerned because their Medicare supplement was being cut. And my parents are both on Medicare, Medicaid. I know in a few years I'm probably going to be at that point, but I think it's this, if the state has an obligation, for instance, with the Retired Employees Association the other day, the state had committed, it was my understanding that was in the state budget and that got cut. And I think we need to be very, very careful about what services, what funding we do cut for those citizens, because they're on a fixed income. Many of them, like for instance, the retired School Association employees the other day, they had had their COLA cut, their cost of living increase allotment had been cut. We have to be very careful, because how are they going to make up that difference? So I would say it's that the state needs to be very, very careful in maintaining that type of funding for our senior citizens, for our honored citizens, I guess my mom likes to be called.
Thank you.
You know, I think people are living a lot longer. We got to cut that out. No, I'm just kidding. But the expenses are certainly great. And I think that what we need to instill in folks that are my age and even younger is that your retirement system probably isn't going to cover all of your expenses in your life, especially not if you want to maintain the quality of life to which you have potentially been accustomed to living. I think that when we talk about our most vulnerable citizens, I think Mary Ruth is right. These are folks on fixed income, and we have to be very careful that we don't jeopardize their quality of life by continually denying them benefits or taking away some of the benefits that they have earned towards their retirement costs. You know, again, it's one of those issues, though, where personal responsibility is going to have to weigh in very heavily. And I think the reality is that retirement funds don't typically cover people's retirement into their senior years. And I think it's very important that we instill in people the need to make sure that they look out and they start to have retirement plans that they start a little earlier in life so that they can cover some of those expenses that come with our senior years, which I'm learning about ever more closely these days.
Are you getting those AARP things too?
That and hot flashes.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now go to the closing statements, and we will begin with Maureen Walsh.
Thanks again for having us. It's always a nice opportunity to get out and be able to talk about your issues and what's important. I think what we do in state government, we have to do more efficiently. I think that we have, frankly, not been passing sustainable budgets in the past 8 years. And it has caused, it's exacerbated the problem. I will not say that it has been completely the issue, because certainly this economy and the economic downturn, we are not alone in that in this state. It's certainly across the nation. I guess I would just say that I love what I do. I enjoy very much working with people. I very much enjoy communicating. And again, I don't care if there's a D or an R behind your name. If you've got a good idea, I'm more than happy to support you with that idea. And I hope that we will be able to scrub the policies. It's the one silver lining on a situation like this when you have an economic downturn, is it really makes you look at what we do, what are the core functions of government, and how can we do a better job in delivering the services to the people with the tax dollars that we are allotted. And that's what my mission is. And again, I'm very proud and honored to serve the 16th District and, frankly, the whole state of Washington. And thanks again for having us tonight.
Thank you. All right. Mary Ruth Edwards.
And again, thank you. I was remiss in saying thank you for the invitation earlier, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you. Although I do not have a legislative background as yet, I hope to add that to my resume in the not too distant future. I believe that I can be a good representative. You should hear all the people who call me the night before elections when they have to turn in their ballots. Mary Ruth, what am I supposed to do? How do I don't understand this. People do come to me. I do have quite a big circle, and I hope to include you all in that circle of people that feel they can reach out to me for assistance and help. And I just thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to your vote in November.
Thank you very much. We will take a short break and exchange our candidates. Thank you. We will give each candidate a 2-minute opening statement. Candidates will answer 2 or 3 questions with 2 minutes to answer. Then the candidates will be given a 1.5 minutes for closing statements. And I'm doing this alphabetical to start with, and you'll see a flow. We'll begin with position 1, and we will begin with Jerome Delvin.
Well, thank you, and thank for the audience for coming out tonight, and thank the organizers for having us. It's been the last 18 years been an honor and a privilege to serve you, both as your state representative and more recent as your state senator in Olympia. During that 18 years, I worked a lot of issues for the Benton County residents, helping the DD community get some justice in the way they're treated under state laws, working mental health issues, working agriculture issues for the farmers, water and land use issues, transportation. A lot I've served on energy and the Ag Committee for most of my 18 years, making sure that WSU got the 4-year status, and also working to get the funding for the Wine Center. working on technology and innovation zones out in North Richland, making sure that Battelle receives some of the funding that the state gives out for research grants. But almost really the important thing is helping the citizens of Benton County deal with government, because that happens almost a weekly basis with someone's having problems dealing with government. And so during that 18 years, I've gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in leadership. And I think with the Leo Bowman commissioner stepping down, I think this is an opportunity now to bring that success and that knowledge to the county government level. I think I can add a lot to that board of commissioners with my experience in Olympia, and I'm looking forward to working tirelessly and effortlessly as I have over in Olympia for you as a county commissioner. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jansons.
Well, first I want to thank the League of Women's Voters, Tri-City Herald, and Charter Communications for hosting the forum, and for all of you for listening. My name is Rick Jansons. I'm running for Benton County Commissioner. I'm running because I'd like to address issues that are important to me, my family, and my community. Issues like keeping our community safe, making sure we get the very best value for our tax dollar, and keeping our community and our county a great place to live, work, and raise a family. These issues are very important to me. Good governance is difficult, but I believe it's very rewarding personally and for, again, my community. During my 11 years of service on the Richland School Board, I have a record of managing complex budgets and improving service. As board president these past 4 years, the district experienced over $9 million in operating budget revenue reductions. I worked with fellow board members and our district leadership to continue to deliver the excellent service. Richland has great schools, and I'm proud to be part of that. About a year ago, I volunteered to serve on the Richland Public Facilities District, again, working with people on the board and community members and interested citizens. We've worked to right-size that project, cut operations budget by more than half, and we have a viable project now. I've owned and operated successful local business for 14 years, previous military experience, and managed a large organization at the plutonium finishing plant. These kinds of experiences directly transfer to the county commission, and I hope to serve you there, and I will serve you well there. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question Mr. Jansons will answer. Budgets are a concern for all county and city government. Citizens are looking for a commissioner that understands and supports responsible spending. What is your experience in budgeting, and how can the county responsibly govern its costs?
Good question. So responsible spending is part of everything that I've done. In terms of the county, first I've gone over the budget, and we have decreasing revenue. Sales tax are going down. We were blessed with some stimulus, blessed or however you want to talk about it. We didn't feel the effects of the recession. We're starting to see those effects now in our sales tax revenues. The way that I did this before, working again with my fellow board members, is to hold public community meetings, go out and talk with constituents, go out and talk with in the case of the school district, our teachers and our other staff. And the goal was to do two things. First was to prioritize what we need to do so we could then prioritize our spending. Second was to eliminate those things that didn't add sufficient value to keep in our budget. The other thing that happened when we went out and had these discussions, and I believe the county commissioners can do these discussions countywide, is look for ways to improve services that don't cost money. What are we doing now that we could do better? What partnerships could we develop? That's the approach that I would take to balancing the budget, and I think it's going to be crucial over the next few years in the county.
Thank you. Delvin.
Well, I've had a lot of budget experience, of course, certainly in Olympia, trying to balance budgets, and that's always been the one issue, that is having sustainable budgets, and we haven't had that at the state level. Fortunately, this last session we had a coalition of both Democrats and Republicans in the Senate. We came up with a sustainable budget that actually is going to make it through this budget year, biennium, without having to adjust it. I've served on nonprofits, many nonprofits around the Tri-Cities, Boys and Girls Club, other nonprofits, and worked on budgets of that size. I've also served on the Gambling Commission, and they have their own revenue stream, and worked on their budgets, you know, as a state agency. So I think I have a good amount of experience and knowledge on how to operate budgets. But I think the county, just as my opponent said, the county could be facing some issues going over the budget too, and talking to county personnel about the budget. It's based a lot on sales tax revenue, and that could be an issue in the near future. And again, the other part of the budget is intergovernmental fund transfers. That's state money, federal money, and other counties that use our services or we contract out. So there's going to be some big issues, but the thing is to set the priorities and fund those priorities, and make sure that you're taking the role of county government and funding that role of their the role of the county government. Make sure you're funding that the best you can, but setting the priorities.
Thank you. Mr. Delvin, we'll start with you on this question. It's from an audience member. I tried to reword this, but I couldn't. So it says, I was alarmed in a recent report that someone had placed a package close to one of the entrances to the Justice Center that had alarmed the police. Do you think that a camera system needs to be installed at the center?
Well, I would start with saying yes. I mean, I think you have to have the appropriate amount of security. One of the tasks I was put in charge of as a state representative, the Speaker asked me to head the committee on courtroom security after a tragic event in Seattle, and I headed up that committee. We've finished that committee and set standards for court security in the state. Most of it was left to the local level, so I think we certainly need to look at the video surveillance. Having been a bomb tech for 20 years on the Richland Police Department, very familiar with suspicious packages and the risk. And my wife walked out that day and was talking to some people out there that were holding a rally on serving on juries. And in the picture, the package is right next to my wife. And so I think the county needs to look at surveillance of those facilities. And also having a plan to make sure that those incidents are taken care of and employees are notified and the public is notified about safety issues.
Thank you. Mr. Jansons.
Well, I would say that at our high schools in the Richland School District, we already have camera systems installed because we thought about these kinds of things, and they do include the parking lots. They've been actually very effective in shall we say, some of the juvenile activities that occur out there as well. It's easy to download, even from the internet, what we're seeing and be able to show that to parents or anyone else why we've talked. I think that same system could be inexpensively brought into the county as well, and I was actually surprised that it wasn't there.
Okay. All right, then third question will be for Mr. Delvin to start with. Okay. The state currently has over $8 billion in unfunded entitlement for pensions. What is your position on pensions, and do you think there needs to be changes?
Well, let me start with I receive a left 2 pension. My career was a police officer. I put the time in and took an early retirement with penalties. When I became a legislator, I didn't join another pension system that the legislators are eligible to. I didn't think it was the right thing to do. So, but with that left system that I currently draw from, one of my things I worked on in the legislature was making sure that pension fund was funded. In fact, it's one of the best ones in the state system because it's funded at about 126%. So there needs to be work on some of the state pensions. As a county commissioner, don't have direct control over what the legislature does, but certainly you can be an advocate. We tried some minor pension reforms this last time. We've had some new hires, won't be able to have early retirements. It doesn't affect any existing employees. So I think there's always room for improvement because those pension systems do have a liability that all of us taxpayers are going to have to pay for one way or the other. But I think what we did in the LES system can be put into other systems. You have to pay more as a member of that, but if you fully fund it, I think you can. So there is certainly always some reform that can be done to those systems to take that liability away.
Okay.
The unfunded entitlement and pensions is certainly a serious state issue, and as my opponent stated, the county commission probably won't go any great lengths towards solving an $8 billion problem. What we can do, however, is ensure that we use your money wisely in our hiring, in the number of staff that we utilize, in the amount of work that is kept privatized versus what we hire government employees to do, and take a long-range look at the out-year expenses. It's easy when you're up for election to say we're going to do all kinds of things right now and kick the can down the road and pay for it later. We need to take into account now our mandates in the future and make sure that those are adequately funded and based on reasonable projections and assumptions. That's what the county commission can do.
Thank you. We will now begin the closing statements, and we will begin with Rick Jansons.
Well, again, thank you for your time. Serious times call for serious candidates. I do see that the county will be facing declining revenues, and we need to be creative about how we maintain and improve services. It's vital we take care of business over the next couple of years because this region is poised for growth. We will come through the recession, we will come through these hard times, and what we do now will greatly impact what happens in the future. I'm a glass half full kind of a person, and this is the best place I've ever lived. I commit to you to provide the best services for your tax dollar, to do the long-range planning, to keep our community safe, and to keep Benton County a great place to live, work, and raise your families. This is an exciting future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and if you'll be patient, we'll now hear from our position number 3. Oh, sorry.
I'm patient.
Thank you for your patience.
I'm patient.
Jerome Delvin.
Well, thank you, the organizers, and thank you, the public, and certainly the viewers at home that are watching too. You know, I'm born and raised in this community, and I've always cared deeply about this community. I think that's what drove me into public service, and that was my calling. And everything I've tried to do in the legislature is to benefit the residents of Benton County, because I do deeply care about this area. I think the county commissioners, though, have a role to play, certainly in some areas that, as in economic development, and they can be a supporting to traditional economic developers such as the ports and Tridec and others, and individuals, because there's a lot of individuals that certainly can help develop this county. Also, there's transportation issues, and the county does have a county road system that benefits both farmers and the public, and the farmers grow a lot of crops, they produce a lot of income in this county, and I think they need to have a voice certainly on that. I think the difference between my opponent and I, it comes down to knowledge and experience in government, and I think that's where I can be very beneficial to the residents of Benton County, and I would continue to work hard and effortlessly on behalf of you as a county commissioner, and I'd appreciate your vote this November.
Thank you for being patient. All right, thank you very much. We will be hearing from the candidates for position number 3, the Benton County Commissioner position number 3. We'll hear from Jim Beaver to begin with, and then Edgar Cousineau. Would you like to begin?
Okay, good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the League, the Tri-City Herald, and Charter. It's an exciting time in Benton County. Now, I'm not really a doom and gloom person, so I'll give you the short version of this. There's 39 counties in the state of Washington. There's 2 of them that are not broke, and Benton County is one of them. And so I read the Herald, I get it, but all that news about doom and gloom in counties typically right now is not in Benton County. I came here with 18 years of experience in the city of Kennewick. I was the longest consecutive mayor in the history of the community, and I've enjoyed graciously the strong support from our community. I'm looking forward to the second term as Benton County Commissioner, and right now I'm serving my second term as Chairman of the Board. Based upon my colleagues' votes, they choose among themselves. Benton County is positioned for the future. We have a bright future. The commissioners this last budget cycle implemented an IT program to try to upgrade the systems that we have at the county. Any government body, a large majority of the costs of running the city government, the county government, or the state government is the personnel. They're in the people business, and so are we. So anything we can do to upgrade our systems, and we already have a succession plan. We worked with our HR departments, and we've done succession plans, and that's the future of the county. I liken it to when I first arrived at this job 4 years ago. I went out to Prosser, and there was a 386 computer sitting on my desk. And I very politely said, do you have anything you want me to do with that 386 computer? I need to get one that I can get the internet on. But in reality, that was the truth. And so the systems there need to be upgraded. And again, I'm excited about the future of the county and the opportunity that faces all of us. I've been in this community for, stop.
You can finish your sentence.
I've been in this community for 37 years, ran Beaver's Furniture, and understand the business environment.
Thank you. Mr. Cousineau.
Hello, friends. Thank you for inviting me today. My name is Edgar Cousineau, and I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to live in a country where we have a democracy, where I can attempt to become a county commissioner. I don't have to feel afraid of doing that. It's a very beautiful thing. I live in a community where most of the people have a place to go at night. Most of the people have enough food to eat. Most of the people feel safe. I feel very proud and privileged to be part of this community. When we look at the small problems that we have, we exemplify them, but we tend to forget about the very basic things, like our children have good schools to go to. I feel strongly about our county. I think it's going to move forward in a very positive direction, just as it has. I want to be a part of that forward motion. My background has been a working person, and I feel like the working people need to be represented in the political spectrum, and that's why I'm running for office.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to begin with you, Mr. Cousineau. Do you feel there are adequate checks and balances within the county government to protect the county from misuse of funding or other assets? What information can you provide to support your response?
That's a very good question. One of the most important things we need in our society is we need trust in our institutions. When that trust starts breaking down, whether it be the police force, the educational system, a city municipality, our society doesn't stand as strong. To create the proper checks and balances for our system, we need oversight. Sometimes that means that we have to hire people that are smarter than ourselves to make sure that these systems are working the way they're supposed to. I know in accounting you have auditors. This is the kind of thing I'm referring to.
Okay. Mr. Beaver.
The answer to the question is yes. Can we improve? Yes. I'm always looking for ways to evaluate the processes that we have. And so in my other life, I'll give you another example. You pull up to the Coliseum, you give a guy $3 and he tells you can park in the parking lot. So one day I said, answer a question. And again, I was the mayor at the time. I said, did anybody go out there last night and count the cars? No. Well, then how do you know how much money is supposed to be in the bag? And it's pretty simple. So I try not to emphasize what needs to happen. Who's buying stuff at the fairgrounds? How are we doing at the jail? We're constantly auditing where we're at. We just got audited by the state, not unlike other jurisdictions, and the county got another award. So We've had about 5 in a row now about our accounting and our processes, and then we pay large amounts of money to have the state come over, Jerome, come over to audit everything we have, and that costs $100,000 to $125,000. So we continue to look at them. Again, I was in private business, and so every day I went out and looked at the warehouse to see what kind of piece of furniture grew legs and went off in the parking lot. So I'm pretty receptive to I'm pretty receptive to seeing what's happened to inventory and the things that we're doing every day.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we'll begin with Mr. Beaver on this question. How would you address the issue of consolidation, cooperation, and efficiency to save the county money? Simple examples might be the consolidation of the emergency dispatch centers, and in some communities it was as simple as disconnecting unused phone lines and phones. How would you address this?
There's a couple different approaches. So one today at the chamber luncheon was an evaluation of the Ruckle House study and a process that started evaluating the relationships between the communities and how they interact with each other. We're always looking at how bi-county operations or tri-county operations can be more efficient and effective. Some of the information, quite frankly, that the guy gave today was consolidation would not be effective for our community, and that's been a question in this community for the last 22 years that I've been a politician. And so some of those questions are being answered. We get together and we do purchasing together. We try to do when the local communities are doing fire truck purchases. So we're always looking for ways to save money, and the reason we're doing that is because revenue is going down and budgets are getting thinner. Got to point out once again, but Benton County right now is in a position where they're not one of the 39 counties that's financially in trouble. While I'm an elected official in any position that I hold, and right now county commissioner, I will not make any decision that gets us in a financial situation that I don't like. In other words, we're not going to be negative as long as I'm in that office.
Okay.
In my years working, I've noticed that big supervisors with big ideas come in and they have this cost-saving idea. And they are going to show this on paper, no matter what the cost addition of doing and processing this is. And in the end, they can show that they saved cost. But what they're not really addressing is by saving the cost over here, they increase the cost over there. What I've noticed in my working career is that most supervisors don't come down and talk to the workers. They don't ask the workers what we can do to save money. It's a sad, sad thing because the people that are doing the jobs really know how the costs can be cut. They know how the efficiencies can be improved, but they're very rarely done anything but looked down upon. And so we just kind of keep moving in the way we move. I think that we have to just address these things on a step, situation by situation basis and look into each situation.
Okay, thank you. I might have to switch to a hard question.
Thanks for that.
You want that? Okay. We will start this question with Mr. Beaver. Okay. Actually, I'm going to use this one since I promised you. I didn't promise him, really. Should all elected positions in county government be partisan? Why or why not?
That's my question. Is that the hard one? Should they all be partisan or nonpartisan? Okay.
Why or why not?
Why or why not? No. So that's the answer to that question. I don't feel that at the county level that the elected officials that are there should have to do the partisan approach. I don't think that the sheriff, whether he's one side of the aisle or the other, I don't think that determines the good sheriff. That's the way it is right now. You have to choose a party. The 18 years as a city council and the 12 years as mayor, that was a nonpartisan position. And the people that run for city council and that are mayors in the community, those are all nonpartisan. Very effective government. Very good working relationship. Moved to the county, now we have partisan. I don't know that the auditor and the assessor need to have the partisan program. So there you go.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Cousineau.
When I decided to seek this office, I had a real hard time deciding what I'm going to do here. What am I going to say? Do I want to be a Democrat? Do I want to be a Republican? Where do I want to stand with my campaign? Had to kind of search into my soul and decide who I am as a person. But I don't even understand why we have to ask this question, because this position shouldn't have that tie to it. The bottom line is the political parties in our country are letting us down. They're squabbling and fighting between each other, and we're not getting the work done that needs to be done in this country. So it seems to me that this position should not be a partisan position. And the other part of the question was...
Oh, it's just why or why not.
Why or why not. So I think the reason why or why not is because people get their heads a little enlarged and they don't want to cooperate with the other party. And I think if you could take that component away from this position, the position would be smoother.
Okay, thank you. It wasn't quite as simple a question as, and it was short. Okay, thank you very much for answering our questions, and now we will go to the closing statements. And Mr. Cousineau, you'll be first.
Okay. I think that the important part of our process is that people should come out of the community and they should work within the system, serve the government in a way. I do not believe that elected officials should spend their whole lives working in politics. It's true that this will give you experience, but what's not good about it is you have the experience of being a politician. The real life experience of being in the workforce, being in those trenches, dealing with supervisors, dealing with all the pressures that employees are facing, uncertainty of employment, potential for all these other problems. I've ran businesses. I have experience that I consider transferable. I guess in November I'm asking you guys if you consider these experiences of my last 40 years to be transferable to the job of county commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beaver.
Thank you. I want to once again thank everyone for coming out tonight. I spent 37 years down on Columbia Drive. I grew up in that furniture store. I got there when I was 13 years old. There was a tavern there, a massage parlor, and a Bible bookstore. And I think Kennewick did a great job in zoning. We remodeled the massage parlor and we put a furniture store in there, and I spent the rest of my life in that building. Okay? So from the ground up, from the truck crew to the warehouse to cleaning the toilets, and if anybody in this room understands what a small business is, guess what? You're everything in that business. So on some days when they come through the door, guess what? You get to say you're president. The next day when they come through there, you're the janitor. So I want to leave you with the impression that I'm not a lifetime politician. I got involved in politics because a guy went on a trip one time, took some money, and when he came home, he had spent the money and he didn't turn it in at the city. So he quit the job and there was an opening. I got a call from the Tri-City Herald one day at my furniture store, and he said, "You're one of the finalists." I hadn't even applied. So there starts a 20-some-odd-year career in politics, which, by the way, the more you know about the stuff that's going on, the madder you get. So that's why I'm still here. I'm budget conservative. When I started at the city of Kennewick, they budgeted to spend every penny that they made. When I left, they had $5.5 million in cash reserve, and it didn't hurt anybody. When I leave the county, they'll still have money, and we'll stop there.
Thank you very much. There are other coalition forums scheduled October 3rd at the Richland Library, the 4th at CBC Jury Center, October 8th at CBC, October 15th, the 4th Congressional District candidates will speak also at CBC. Please look at the advertisements listing the candidates for each of these forums in the Tri-City Herald, and today's paper was on the back page of the first section. The views expressed this evening by the candidates are their opinions, not the sponsoring organizations, and that the sponsorship of the debate is not an endorsement by the sponsors of any candidate. Our thanks to the candidates who are all willing to serve and who have taken their time to tell us about their candidacy. Thanks also to the Tri-City Coalition for presenting today's forum. Remember to mail in your ballot by the November 6th general election. Thank you very much.